Imagine standing face to face with a creature that's 10 times your size, with skin like leather and eyes that glow red. They reach so tall that their feet crush the earth around you, and you feel the vibrations of their footsteps like an earthquake. Could you survive? Well, here's how humans lived 1 million years ago. Against giants. Hi, it's me. Welcome to this channel. This is the story of how our ancestors survived against gigantic beasts. But let's start at the beginning. Every culture has stories of giants. Some say they were predators who hunted humans. Others claim they were protectors who defended us. But what's real? To find out, we'll go back to the beginning, 1 million years ago, to the Stone Age. This was a time when people lived in small clans. They scavenged for food and fought off wild animals just to stay alive. The biggest threat of all, though, was the giants. There were many kinds of giants. Most were ape-like creatures called gigantopithecus. They weighed more than 500 pounds and had huge fangs. Others were wolf-like monsters named lycaonids. They were 7 feet tall and ran in packs. Imagine trying to escape one of these creatures. You would have to be fast. If the giants caught you, they would tear you apart. Their strength was incredible. Even a baby giant could rip a human limb from its socket. And if that wasn't enough, there were also the Tainoboa, enormous 40-foot snakes that slithered across the earth. These monsters crushed people like toys. So how did people survive? What weapons did they use to fight off these beasts? You wouldn't believe it today. But back then, people didn't have guns or tanks. Their only weapon was their intelligence. At first, people lived in constant fear of the giants. They were easy prey, so people had to come up with a strategy. And the first step was food. When people saw the giants coming, they had to hide and eat very quietly. People searched for food after dark, or during bad weather when the giants couldn't see them. They ate roots and berries and nuts. They hunted small animals and fished. But it wasn't easy. Imagine you're scavenging for food in the forest. It's dark and raining. You can barely see. Suddenly, you hear the sound of breaking trees and crashing undergrowth. A giant has entered the forest. Now you have to be silent. If the giant finds you, you'll be in big trouble. What do? The answer is to run. You must run fast, faster than the giant sees you. Then you can keep moving until you find a new place to hide. And so people lived in hiding. They always looked over their shoulders. They never stayed in one place for too long. But as time passed, people learned more about the giants. They discovered that the giants weren't smart. They couldn't plan ahead. They acted on instinct. They followed the sounds of breaking branches and running water. They used their amazing noses to smell food. They stomped their feet to scare away smaller animals. People learned that giants couldn't climb trees or fit in small spaces. With this knowledge, people could outsmart them. For example, they made spears and slings. When the giants came close, people used their spears to stab them in the legs, or their slings to poke them in the eyes. Then the people ran away before the giants could react. People set traps for the giants, pits filled with sharp sticks or ropes attached to large stones. They pretended to be small, harmless animals. Then when the giants walked into the trap, the people attacked them. Sometimes they used fire to scare the giants away. But most of all, people worked together to defeat the giants. Many hands make light work. If a group of people attacked a giant, they had a chance of driving it away. Imagine the scene. A group of people sneak up on a giant. They poke it with spears and throw stones. The giant lashes out with its huge fists, but the people dodge out of the way. They keep poking and prodding until the giant falls to the ground. Then they tear it apart piece by piece. In this way, people survived the giants. They used all their strength and intelligence to protect themselves. But where did they go for safety? Where did they live? Caves were the best place to hide. People made their homes in caves. The giants couldn't get inside. They couldn't see people. Sometimes people climbed trees and made their homes in the tops of the canopies. Giants couldn't reach them. They couldn't climb trees. Finally, people hid in places the giants couldn't reach, in the swamps and marshes and on top of mountains. As you can see, surviving against the giants wasn't easy. It took courage, intelligence, and planning, but people did it. They used everything they had to stay alive. And now it's time to reveal a legend about the giants. Some say the giants weren't real. They were a myth. People made them up to explain things they didn't understand, like big footprints in the mud or bones of extinct animals. But others say the giants are real. People aren't the only ones who have lived on the earth for hundreds of thousands of years. The giants were here first. They were the first humans, the original people. Then 10,000 years ago, the giants vanished. Some say it was a flood. Others say a war. But no one knows for sure. Now here's a final mystery. Some people claim the giants still live on Earth. They hide in the valleys and deep forests. They avoid people because they're afraid of us. Others say it's the other way around. The giants want revenge. They want to destroy the humans who destroyed their homes. The truth is, no one knows what happened to the giants. All we have are stories and legends. This is what we know. 1 million years ago, people lived in fear of the giants. They had to be careful where they went and what they did. If the giants had caught them, they would have been in big trouble. But people survived. They used their intelligence and skills to stay alive. They hid in caves and climbed trees. They used spears and slings to attack the giants. And most of all, they worked together. It wasn't easy, but people did it. They survived the giants. And now it's time for you to make a decision. Do you think the giants were real or just a myth? Do you think they're still hiding in the world? Or are they gone forever? Let me know in the comments below. And now it's time for a final question. Would you survive if the giants returned? Well, here's how to survive in the wild. First, you need food and water. Then you need shelter and protection. Finally, you need to know how to defend yourself. If you can do all these things, you might survive. Would you survive if the giants returned? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.